got to get rid of this loser. This guy is bad. He's disloyal to the Republican Party. He's disloyal to the people of Kentucky. And most importantly, he is disloyal to the United States of America. And he's got to be voted out of office as soon as possible.
You raised a good question about the people who voted for Trump. As a voter in this district, let me stand up for my people. These people voted for Donald Trump. They also voted for Massey on the expectation that he would help Donald Trump enact his agenda. He stopped doing that, and it's pretty simple. They decided to get a congressman who will help him enact that agenda. It's easy to overanalyze this. The bottom line is they love Trump. They love his agenda. Tax cuts, border security, you name it. Massey got off that team, and they wanted to put someone on the team who would help the president. It's pretty simple. So what's the old song? You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit into the wind. You don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Trump in a Republican primary. And that's what Thomas Massey has done by becoming his chief antagonist in the U.S. House. And this became really a referendum on, is Thomas Massey on the team or not? And Trump said he wasn't. The voters followed.
There has simply never been a political force like him. And as he redefines the GOP, President Donald J. Trump is even more actively redefining the midterms. You are watching the single most consequential political remapping of a major American political party in modern history play out in real time. Trump is not just the leader of the Republican Party. He is the Republican Party. And what he pulled off this week, this singular, extraordinary, jaw-dropping week, should be the front page of every newspaper in America. Make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video, because I'm going to show you exactly how Trump is building the most structurally dominant midterm map the GOP has seen in a generation. And there is absolutely nothing the fledgling Democrats could do to stop him. So let's start with, it's got to be the single most important political statistic of the week. And I want to let this, you've just got to let this number sink in, because the legacy media is absolutely, desperately trying to stop you from seeing this. 37-0. You can be sure the legacy media's dwindling audience does not know this stat. I can assure you of that. 37-0. That is Donald Trump's endorsement record from Tuesday's May 19th primaries alone. 37 candidates endorsed by Trump running in states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, Idaho, Oregon. Every single one of them, 100% won. Pennsylvania, 10 wins, 0 losses. Georgia, 9 wins, 0 losses. Alabama, Kentucky, Idaho, Oregon, perfect sweep. Gang, that's not just a good night, right? That's a great, no, it's not even a great night. That's a political force of nature that we simply have never seen before. Obama couldn't tout those numbers. Not even close. We're about to see how he just got humiliated again. I mean, this is unbelievable. For all the naysayers who claimed that Trump was losing the Republican base, for all the doomers that said that the MAGA movement was fracturing, that the voters were leaving, this number's an absolute gut. This number's a 5-finger death punch. It's a good metal band. 37 wins, 0 losses. A 97% win streak overall in Trump's total endorsements. That's not a movement in retreat. That is a movement at the absolute apex of its power. And what Trump has proven is that it really doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been in Congress. It doesn't matter how popular you may be on the talk shows or on Podcastistan. It doesn't matter. If you are perceived as an obstacle to the full and total unleashing of MAGA power, you're gone. You will be politically steamrolled, standing in the way of the unstoppable MAGA movement. Now, of course, the real sort of weight of this moment started with the Indiana GOP. Remember all those Indiana state senators some weeks back who decided that they would side with the Mike Pence wing of the party, the loser wing of the party, and vote against redistricting to give the GOP 2 new seats in Congress from Indiana. Now, let that hit you. Indiana Republicans voted with every single state Democrat to keep 2 Democrat seats. Who the hell needs Democrats when you have Republicans like that? Well, it just so happens that 8 of those Republican state senators in Indiana were up for re-election a couple of weeks ago. And when Trump unleashed Indiana voters on them, it was an absolute bloodbath. When Indiana primary voters showed up to the polls, they delivered what one commentator called a flat-out wipeout. Travis Holdman, one of the most vile of these anti-Trump rhinos from District 19, gone. Jim Buck, District 21, gone. Greg Walker, District 41, gone. Linda Rogers, District 11, gone. Dan Dernolk, District 1, gone. And many of them were defeated by massive, I should say District 11 there. Many were defeated by massive margins. In fact, in that District 11 race, the Trump-endorsed challenger beat him with 73% of the vote. He literally got Liz Cheney'd. As the smoke cleared, 6 of the 8 turncoat Republican senators, keep in mind, Trump only actively endorsed 5. 6 of the 8 turncoat Republican senators were defeated. It was an absolutely astonishing display of political power that has reverberations that go way beyond Indiana. Here again is CNN's Scott Jennings, who had a rather ominous, indeed prophetic warning for what was to come.
The boss of the party, I think Alyssa stated it very well. He calls the shots in the Republican Party, and if you go against that, he will pour his wrath out upon you, and it doesn't typically turn out well. As Harry Enton has said before, go against Trump in a primary, and you wind up in the grinder, and that's what happened in Indiana. To me, what I was looking for tonight was the forward-looking lessons here. For instance, what's going to happen in Kentucky in a couple of weeks in that 4th congressional district where Thomas Massie is the one congressional Republican who has been the biggest thorn in Donald Trump's side. They have poured millions into that race, and a lot of people are wondering, could he withstand a challenge from a Trump-backed challenger there? If you look at what happened in Indiana tonight, and you're Thomas Massie tonight, or you're anybody else in a primary right now where Trump's on the other side of you, you got to be thinking, this is a bad night for me. But bottom line is, there's always plenty of money in politics, and it's always the president's priorities and prerogatives that call the shots in his or her political party, and here we are.
And indeed, Scott, as usual, was spot on. Just this past Saturday, the ultra-repulsive Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, who voted to convict Donald Trump in that sham impeachment trial back in January of 2021, he got his butt handed to him. He was decimated in his primary. He made history as the first incumbent senator to come in 3rd in his primary in over 60 years. And then, of course, the big one, the showdown, which Scott Jennings was just alluding to there, between Trump and his ultra nemesis, Tom Massie, in Kentucky's 4th district. And gang, it wasn't even close. It was one of those, like, Mike Tyson, Michael Spinks fights. There's this huge lead up, the 2 big heavyweights, and it was over in 91 seconds. I mean, Massie was pummeled by Trump-endorsed Ed Galrein. He lost by double digits. The race was called within an hour of polls closing. He lost by 10 points. It was an unmistakable message that Trump has total iron control over the GOP, whether they like it or not. Whether they like it or not, the Republican Party is being remade in Trump's image. The Republican Party is now officially the MAGA Party. Just ask Dan Crenshaw. Or better, even better, just ask Texas Senator John Cornyn. My, oh my, was that a bombshell? In many respects, the most seismic event this week did not happen in Kentucky. It happened in its backdrop because he endorsed Ken Paxton that Tuesday morning at the Kentucky primary. So it was a bit overshadowed, but it really actually happened in Texas. Donald Trump looked, I want you to get this, he looked at a 24-year Senate veteran, John Cornyn, the senior United States Senator from Texas, the former Senate Majority Whip, one of the most entrenched figures in the entire Washington establishment. He was a future Senate Majority Leader. And Trump endorsed his opponent, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, for the Senate seat. Trump turned his back on Cornyn. And in doing so, he demonstrated his total and complete disdain for the whole of the Rhino Republican Senate establishment, who literally do nothing of value when it comes to advancing the MAGA agenda in the Senate. They did the BBB, and that's it. And that's key. Remember, Paxton offered to drop out of the Senate primary if Cornyn agreed to finally nuke the filibuster and pass the Save America Act. Cornyn had no political choice. In order for his own survival, he agreed. He's always been an establishment hack. He's always defended the filibuster. Then he turned around, wrote an op-ed, and said, all right, that's it. I'm turning my back on the filibuster. We have to pass the Save Act. I think he was kind of lackluster milquetoast with that, but he did flip. He got on board of getting rid of the filibuster, passed the Save Act, but his fellow Rhino establishment Republicans didn't move an inch on it. And so when he turned around looking for their help, he was like, yo, guys, guys. And in failing to pass either of those legislative priorities, Trump just absolutely, I was going to do a chop, but I think it's better gut punch the establishment and endorse the incumbent senator's primary challenge, knocking out a 24-year Senate veteran. And the betting markets, I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, obviously, Cornyn is gone. He's lost. Everyone's like, well, he may lose. No, he's lost. The betting markets recognized it instantly. Before the endorsement, Ken Paxton was sitting at roughly, he was in the lead, but roughly at about 48% odds in the prediction markets. Within hours of Trump's True Social post endorsing Paxton, Paxton shot up nearly to 100% to get the nomination, and Cornyn collapsed to single digits. That's not a campaign shift. That's a total annihilation as a result of one endorsement, one post, done. Now, why does this matter so much beyond just Texas? Think about what that endorsement signals to every single Republican senator and congressman across the country who's been playing both sides. Every rhino in the Senate who's been quietly working to block Trump's agenda while publicly pretending to support it. Every establishment Republican who's been counting on their incumbency advantage and their DC donor network to carry them through another cycle. John Cornyn had all of it, the money, the establishment backing, decades of name recognition, the Fox News seal of approval, and it was all for naught. It all came crashing down with one single social media post. That's the power that this Trumpian presidency has over the Republican Party. And here's the deeper strategic genius of what Trump just did here. John Cornyn is not just any rhino. John Cornyn is actually the closest Senate ally to none other than Majority Leader John Thune, the man who's been the single greatest obstacle to the Save America Act, the man who refuses to nuke the filibuster, the man whose entire political strategy is to keep Trump's agenda permanently bottled up in procedural amber. By targeting Cornyn, Trump is sending an unmistakable message to Thune. You're next. The presidential endorsement is no longer a formality. It's no longer a courtesy. It's no longer a political favor. It is now a weapon. And Trump just showed the entire Republican Party exactly how that weapon works. Now, while all of this is happening, Many of you may have missed the political earthquake that happened in the state of Georgia this week. There were 2 Georgia Supreme Court seats on the ballot Tuesday night, the same night that Massey went down. You had the Republican Charlie Bethel versus the ultra-woke Democrat Miracle Rankin in one race. And then you had the presiding justice, the Republican Sarah Warren versus former Democrat State Senator Jen Jordan in the other race. Now, technically, these are officially nonpartisan races. But yeah, let's be clear. Everyone knows whose side everybody's on. And guess who the Democrats rolled out to get the voters out? Yep. Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, you skipped one, guys. You should have one there. Where's Barack? No, yeah, you missed it. I love my producers. I love them. But sometimes I just go, did I miss it there? Maybe I forgot to put it in my notes there. Yeah, Barack Hussein Obama. Obama himself came off the sidelines to personally endorse Rankin and Jordan for the Georgia Supreme Court. He posted a statement calling these races critical to voting rights and basic freedoms, blah, 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 blah. He used his full moral and political capital to try to drag the Democrat candidates over the finish line in a state that Democrats have been desperately trying to lock down as their midterm centerpiece, Georgia. The results? Now you can show it. It was a GOP blowout, an absolute blowout. Charlie Bethel won. Sarah Warren won. Sarah Warren won 60% of the vote. Trump's endorsed picks went 100% in every race Tuesday. Obama's endorsements went 0 for 2. So that's not just a political result. That's a verdict. Voters in what may be the most pivotal swing state in the 2026 midterm map chose Republicans over Democrats in statewide races, while Democratic energy was supposedly at its highest. They were the most enthusiastic. They were the most jazzed. They couldn't wait to get out and vote. Remember the Wisconsin Supreme Court, state Supreme Court vote? They killed us. They clocked us. The same thing was supposed to happen here, and it didn't. Both, not 1, 2 Republicans won handily. And here's the civilizational bottom line about what this means. Republican-based voters are awake in a way they simply have not been in an off-year election in modern memory. These are the kind of state Supreme Court races that Republicans have routinely lost for years, i.e. Wisconsin, because low-propensity MAGA voters simply don't show up for low-profile races. But that simply didn't happen here. Those low-propensity voters showed up on Tuesday. They showed up in Georgia. They showed up in Kentucky. They showed up in elections all across the country. And they sent one unmistakable message. We want MAGA. We voted for Trump, and we want Trump's America First agenda as he defines it. Not some faction, not some splinter or marginal group, not some interest group. It's Trump's agenda that we voted for, and Trump's alone.